Infirmary camps have been set up in advance, and the infected individuals from the ships have arrived. They are escorted into tents where Sister Lily treats them with utmost caution. To prevent fear and maintain safety, the victims are blindfolded so they cannot see Lily, who works diligently behind a counter. Prince has also implemented a system to keep victims from getting close to Lily, ensuring they're treated safely from the other side of a counter. The first patient is a native soldier from the border town who was aboard the ship. The girl, Lily, immediately begins her healing process, with Prince watching attentively. Once she's done, Roland asks if she is finished, and Lily confirms that she has. He then asks the patient how he feels. The soldier initially says he feels kind of good, but then he's absolutely shocked when he realizes it was Prince Roland who spoke to him. The soldier immediately salutes the prince with a big smile on his face, expressing how amazing he feels. Turning to Lily, Prince Roland seeks clarification. She explains that the symptoms aren't typical of the plague. The black spots are from sepsis, causing cyanosis. Even after killing off the Yersinia pestis bacteria, these spots take time to fade back to normal. The prince tells him to gather up the other soldiers and send them about 10 at a time. The soldier nods appreciatively, thanking Nana for her healing. But Prince Roland corrects him, saying it's Lily, not Nana, as Nana deals with injuries where there's bleeding. Hearing this, the soldier quickly shows his respect to Sister Lily, which deeply moves her. It's probably the first time she looks so relaxed and natural, as she usually acts like a stubborn brat. But then again, she turns to her usual stubborn self while blushing slightly. She insists she doesn't need any credit. But Prince Roland teases her, asking why she's blushing so much then. The prince gives her a good old pat, and that's when Nightingale enters the scene, telling them she just witnessed a strange phenomenon. She explains that there were signs of magic in the blood of those people, and the prince is quite startled to hear this. Nightingale continues, describing how in the fog it looked like stars in the sky, something she'd never seen with such small magical glows before. While the prince examines the things under the microscope, he sees these mucus-filled little bugs. Nightingale reveals that since anything related to magic is either caused by witches or something to do with the church, she can bet her life that this is the church's doing, much like those pills. Meanwhile, Lily's bugs immediately attack these mucus-filled pests and start devouring them. The prince also set up a second building where Nana could treat severely wounded patients. He's confident they can handle this epidemic with their two talented girls. He hopes they can soon stand on stage, receiving the applause they deserve instead of quietly healing in those boxes. Suddenly, the prince notices Nightingale dozing off. When he tries to snap her out, she starts rambling about seemingly unrelated things. With a bright smile, she reveals that the Witch Union will soon have a new member. As dusk settles, we see the same girl sitting on the ground. A soldier kindly offers her some food, and she thanks him warmly. She's still a bit puzzled about having to wear a blindfold before going into the tent. But after getting that mysterious treatment, she and the others are feeling a lot better. Tears of joy well up in her eyes as she's grateful that everything's going okay now. She just wants to keep living like this because their lives were so tough before, especially losing both her mom and dad. All she wants now is to stay alive with her sister. Well, it seems like one of the girls from these two is a witch, and that is precisely why Nightingale hinted about the new witch joining them soon. Right on cue, she appears behind the sisters. Nightingale introduces herself as a witch, which fascinates the girl, who reciprocates to the gesture and introduces herself as Lucia White, and she immediately expresses her desire to join the Witch Association. Nightingale agrees and offers to take her home, mentioning that Prince Roland wants to meet her as well. Later that night in the castle, we see Prince examining these materials before him, which seem related to Lucia's abilities. Although the specifics of her powers are unclear, she used a cup to demonstrate her abilities. She worries she may have damaged the cup, but the prince reassures her and asks if she can do the same with other objects. Before she can respond, her stomach grumbles loudly, causing her embarrassment. Nightingale smiles and decides to grab some food before diving back into the nerdy stuff. The prince decides to throw a feast for her, and later that night, all the witches gather around the table ready to enjoy the meal. Wendy officially welcomes Lucia into the union, and everyone gathers around her warmly, which melts the girl's heart right away. Wendy offers her some grilled meat, mentioning Anna's skill at grilling, encouraging Lucia to give it a try. Meanwhile, Lightning makes sure to serve her fine wine, insisting she enjoy as much as she wants. Wendy then pats her on the shoulder and tells her she can call on her if she needs anything. Lucia feels deeply touched to see everyone so lively here compared to the harsh outside world. She can't help but feel a sense of warmth, as if she has finally come home. Meanwhile, we're back with the other sister who has just woken up from her nap. Lucia immediately asks how she's feeling, to which the little one meekly replies that she's really hungry. The older sister assures her to wait there, as she'll be right back with the grilled fish Nightingale gave her. Suddenly, the girl realizes she's not on the ship anymore. Her sister explains they've arrived at their destination in the western region, the border town. The witches under the Lord have also cured her, and she reveals they're in the castle right now. She tells her sister that everyone here treats her very well, no matter who they are, and they don't see her as an outsider. She even mentions that this place has things called bathrooms, and Nightingale was the one who bathed her while she was unconscious. While her sister munches on those dried fishes, her sister gladly tells her how things are in the border town. The younger one teasingly asks if she'll be sleeping with the prince now that she's working for him. This gets the older sister angry, and she starts pinching the poor girl, demanding to know who taught her such things. The junior sister quickly spills out that it was their mother who told her, and this is precisely why she never let father take beautiful maids at home. Seems like their father had a reputation as a playboy back in his day. Speaking of parents, Lucia remembers them for a moment and feels sad that ever since they died, she never had anywhere to belong. Now that she can stay here, she worries that her abilities won't be useful to Prince Roland. Even though she can supposedly restore objects, whenever she uses her ability, it often ends up destroying other people's hard work. She even turned the prince's cup into a pile of different substances. It seems like her skill leans more towards reverse engineering rather than restoring objects, but they appears to be using restore term as restoring the stuff to its original form, not fixing the broken. Right now she's worried that if Prince Roland deems her abilities useless, he might just kick both of them out of the castle. The next day arrives, and there are various random objects laid out before Lucia. The prince asks her to try restoring the first one. She gladly complies and uses her magic power right away. Meanwhile, Nightingale can't help but notice Prince Roland's rather happy face today. To which Prince admits he's thrilled because with Lucia's abilities, they might actually make some tangible progress in the smelting and manufacturing industry. He starts delving into technical details that even Nightingale finds a bit snoozeworthy. Once Lucia is done with the first object, Roland tells her to try restoring grapes and steak, and he jokingly reminds her to restore some steam buns before Nightingale devours everything. The girl laughs at their banter and jumps right in to use her powers on them too. When she's done, she admits she's totally out of magical juice. Meanwhile, the prince checks out the steam buns she just fixed up. He explains that after steaming, the gluten proteins go through some irreversible changes in high heat. So even if you grind it back to powder, it won't be as smooth as it was. Despite this, she managed to turn the flour back to its original form. Then he looks at the iron ingot and realizes if her power was just about restoring, it should have turned into iron ore. Instead, it broke down into iron powder and some other gunk. And as for the steak and grapes, there's no change. Seems like she might struggle with organic stuff or composition of living beings. From these tests, he figures her power has two sides to it, and it all depends on what she knows. Nightingale also gives her props for her impressive powers, even though she's not even an adult yet and hasn't been through the whole coming-of-age thing. The prince immediately offers her a job contract, detailing everything it includes. Lucia doesn't pay much attention to the specifics. She's just thrilled to be staying here with her sister, even if she has no clue what her job actually entails. The prince reassures her that her role here isn't just about her ability. The witch union always supports its members, and everyone has unique talents. He's confident she'll find her place. A few days later, they're all in the council room hashing out plans for a battle against the king's city. He warns it's going to be different this time, since they will be fighting this war in an unfamiliar territory, so he tells everyone to be extremely cautious. He lays out the map, pointing to the red square in the middle representing the king's city, and the blue lines representing the canals. He assigns two main tasks. First, to protect the witches and heal the refugees, then safely return them to the border town. Second, to prevent the epidemic from spreading into the king's city. He explains they'll set up a lookout post on a high point outside the city overlooking the ports. The soldiers will disguise themselves as caravan mercenaries to help the cured refugees board ships. Lily is put in charge of curing the infected. Everyone will gather river water, and she'll purify it to distribute to the sick. He stresses two big things. First, Everyone boarding the ship needs to have already drunk the purified water. Second, don't ever use boiled water to make the purified stuff. Funny thing is, the dirtier the water, the better, because that way, it will have more bad microorganisms that will get replaced with Lily's microorganisms during the purification process. He reveals that the epidemic was caused by the church, and the disease started spreading in the king's city. The church claims to have a cure, but ironically refuses to distribute it to the city residents, just because they want to appear as saviors while deceiving everyone. He declares they'll also work to dismantle the church's propaganda. He's confident everything will go smoothly this time, and he's ready to take these guys down for good. It's just a matter of time before he gets to them. Theo arrives at the king's city and tells Margaret straight up that the prince wants to move all the infected refugees back to the western region. He asks her to provide a large number of ships for continuous transport, rather than just 1 or 2 fleets, because he is aiming to have all refugees in the border town within 3 days. Margaret calls it ridiculous. Even if half of these people die here, there will still be at least 5,000 left. Transporting them all in 3 days would require nearly 100 sailing ships. She explains that even if they used all the ships in the Chamber of Commerce, it would cost thousands of gold royals. Even the steam engines couldn't cover such expenses, and as a merchant, she's not willing to take such a big loss. Well, looks like the prince saw this coming. So, Theo hands her a letter from our hero, laying out all the details about the cost. Theo also explains that if they can't get everyone out in 3 days, the church might swoop in and things could get messy. After Margaret reads the letter, she jumps straight to the point, asking about the timeline. Theo looks puzzled for a moment, wondering what she means. With a little smile, Margaret politely asks when they need to have all the ships ready to go. Not sure what was in that letter, but it must have been something good to make this greedy fox accept the terms so quickly. The scene shifts to the fjords, where the church's outposts are under attack by the witches. Leading the charge is Lady Ash and her squad of sweet little ladies. After spotting the arrows being shot, Ash informs her crew they're anti-demon arrows, so they need to clean up fast. With that in mind, she leaps into the air without warning, soaring high enough to reach the soldiers on the wall. With a single swing of her sword, she wipes them out like it's nobody's business. She continues slashing left and right, cutting down everyone in her path without a care in the world. One of the knights tries to track her with a specially made arrow, but he gets his eye ripped out by a fat black crow who suspiciously resembles Maggie. The other girls come rushing back to join the fight, and Ash rallies her friends, reminding them that once they clear out every priest from the fjords, there will be no one left to mock the witches with their laughable beliefs. Soon after, Ash has wiped out the entire church. A jar of pills rolls across the ground as our black beauty hovers before the knight who lost his hand which was holding that jar. He calls her a demon, a term she certainly doesn't appreciate given the church's persecution of witches. In response, she swings her sword and cuts him down without hesitation. With the area now confirmed clear of enemies, the other witches ask if she's cleared out the entire area too. She smiles and confirms that it's over. She declares that even though the outposts around the fjords didn't house thousands of soldiers or a judgment army, but by eliminating them all, they've carved out a place for their existence and won the battle. Everyone bursts into happiness, celebrating their hard-earned victory. Back at Sleeping Island, Princess Tilly is absolutely thrilled to hear the good news about the successful annihilation of the church, and she reveals to her friend that this news had already been delivered to her by Maggie. Ash nods, noting that Maggie can actually fly faster than ships can sail. She then asks where Maggie is now, to which Princess Tilly reveals that she's already left for the western region without even waiting. Tilly explains that Maggie has made a friend over there, and if it weren't for the battle against the church, she would have already reached Border Town by now. Tilly admits that after hearing so much about them, she's genuinely curious and wants to meet them at any cost. Ash wonders if she made a mistake letting Maggie stay there, but Princess Tilly reassures her, saying she actually did a great job. The only reason they're able to communicate with the other side is because of Maggie. She also mentions that she has sent her response letter to Roland Wimbledon, and she asks Ash how she thinks she responded. Her friend confidently states that she surely denied giving any witches to him, since sailing the sea itself is dangerous. To her surprise, Princess Tilly says that's wrong, causing Ash to choke on her tea. Tilly explains that she agreed to his request and even briefly introduced the abilities of support-type witches in the letter, and she is willing to send a few witches to Border Town. Tilly happily states that it's for the sake of exploration and knowledge, and they should strengthen their friendship and move forward together. But still, Her friend expresses her disagreement, to which the princess further reminds her that since they both hate the church, forming a friendship with Roland's group is an added strength. She insists that if they are friends, they should be kind to each other. Additionally, according to Maggie's report, a witch can further evolve her abilities through the acquisition of knowledge. By sending witches to study would really help Sleeping Island out. Ash still insists going there would be risky, but Tilly quickly reassures her she won't go until she confirms everything. She also brings up Sister Sylvie's knack for seeing through disguises, whether it's makeup or magical illusions, which means they can easily uncover Roland's true identity. Most importantly, Tilly trusts Ash, and she is sure that her friend will always be by her side no matter the danger. Ash stays quiet, not sure how to convince her, while the princess decides to postpone further discussion until Maggie arrives with her reports. Right now, she's got other important stuff to focus on. Lady Ash then curiously asks what she's talking about, and Princess spills the beans that outside the mainland lies Shadow Island within Fjord's boundaries, a place where most of the magic stones they've acquired come from. Now that the church is out of the picture, Tilly wants to personally check out these ruins and see what they're all about. Upon hearing the mention of Shadow Island, her friend then asks if she is talking about the ruins known as the legendary Ghost Red River. If yes, she explains how these ruins vanish and reappear in the sea, with dangerous currents and sea monsters all around, making it super tricky for anyone to get near. She mentions plenty of explorers have bitten the dust on Shadow Island just chasing after this wild phenomenon, so she's not sure how they'll tackle exploring those ruins. Princess Tilly then spills that there's an outsider explorer chilling right here on Sleeping Island. He's the one who first stumbled upon those ruins, so he is definitely going to lead the path for them.